including natural meditation, the Zen Commandments, and Cinema Nirvana, have been praised by the New York Times, Publishers Weekly, which called his work extremely well written and joyously entertaining. He also blogs for the Huffington Post and has appeared on Oprah Radio, NPR, and it says here the Lisa Oz Show, and I don't know what that is. Might be the Dr. Oz Show, or it might be Lisa. Anyway, when not teaching or writing, Dean narrates audiobooks, makes music, and happily rides his Vespa through the streets of Santa Monica. His website is deansluyter.com. Teaching us natural meditation. Please welcome Dean Sluyter.
And can I, oh, I'm on. Can I get a stool or something highish to sit on? Okay. Okay, great. That's good. Thanks so much. I'm great, thank you. I got water, I got a microphone, stand back. Hi. And thank you so much for coming here today on this beautiful day. I noticed a license plate frame in the parking lot that said San Clemente, best climate in the world, something like that. And it's kind of amazing to me that anyone is here inside on a day like this, but maybe you get these every day. You know, in the mythology of Buddhism and Hinduism, there's something called the Deva realm. It's the realm of the celestial beings. And the idea is that if your karma is really, really good, you get to reincarnate into the Deva realm. And it's a place where everything is so great, everything is so beautiful. It's the most perfect climate and the most delectable food and the most beautiful women and men, and everything is so great that it's just perfect, except for one thing. There's only one problem in the Deva realm, which is it's so problem-free that they can't get any of the Devas to sit down and close their eyes and meditate. So that's the fly in the ointment. So I've been leading such a lucky life, coming right up to this moment being here, and I really want to thank everyone that helped bring me here, Reverend Heather, Reverend Michael, Reverend Darren, I just made you an honorary Reverend, and everyone else that was involved. Because I love doing this. And I've been doing this in various forms for, it's getting to be an embarrassingly long time, since way back in another millennium, let's put it that way. And it started for me as a little kid. I was asking all the questions about life that probably most people in this room also asked. But unlike the other people who are not in this room, we kept asking, didn't we? And kept maybe not finding the answers that we wanted, that we knew we needed, so we kept looking around. And if your teacher or your parent or your minister or rabbi was not giving you the answer that you needed, you kept inquiring, you kept looking. Maybe at some point you saw that, that sign, like when they're looking for, help wanted, inquire within. So maybe we started inquiring there as well. I was also very lucky in that I was growing up here in the 1960s. I found myself living in San Francisco in 1966, 1967, which some of you may recall. The summer of love, and it wasn't just hippies dancing in Golden Gate Park, although it was that, and I was one of those, But also a few blocks from the park was one of the first Hare Krishna temples in the United States. And another mile or two away was the first full-time Zen center in the United States. Coming through the park and up to Marin County was Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, the great, joyous Hasidic rabbi whose brand of Hasidic Judaism was all about dancing and singing and meditating. And his hippie Hasidim would get together with the Hare Krishna people and have parties at each other's places. So it was an incredible time of celebration and also an incredible time to meet teachers. I mean, real teachers with a capital T, and find out what was out there. Now, one of the first couple of teachers that a few of the first teachers that I encountered were Zen teachers. I thought, okay, this sounds like something I should look into. And I lasted as a Zen student for about, I think, 4 or 5 days. I washed out completely. And the reason was that the Zen teachers required me to sit like a stone Buddha. If my nose itched, I couldn't scratch it. If my knee hurt, I couldn't move it. If my mind was wandering, I was doing it wrong. And if you do it wrong enough, in Zen, they come and they whack you with a stick. And wasn't my dish of tea. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it. And the Zen teachers were very upfront about this. They said, Zen is not for everyone. It's not for most people. So I said, okay, I need something that's for most. I need something that's for the rest of us. And also, I've always had the impulse of being a teacher, of just, you can't shut me up. So I knew I had to find stuff that not only I could practice, but also that I could share. So I kept inquiring, and what I found was that there were teachers who were plugged into traditions just as venerable and authentic as Zen, whose teaching was, no, you can meditate in a human way. It doesn't have to be an effort. And in fact, effort is self-defeating. Because listen closely to this, the effort to construct a non-agitated state of mind is itself a form of agitation. I'll say that again. The effort to construct a non-agitated state of mind is itself a form of agitation, right? It's like, we're on the surface of the ocean and we go, there's all these waves here. We're bobbing around all these waves. What are we going to do? I'm going to beat this wave down. Oh, there's another one over there. Now this one's back. It's a never-ending battle. It does not work well. Every once in a while, if you do that thing, every once in a while things will get quiet. You know why? Because you're exhausted. You get too tired to beat the waves. And then go, oh, whew, took a long time, but that was worth it. Okay, let's start again. What my teachers showed me is that there's another way, which is just settle down about 3 inches below the surface. And guess what? It's always quiet there. Doesn't matter. And okay, up there on the surface, there's some waves going on, some ripples, some tsunamis, whatever. It doesn't matter, because even when there's tsunamis going on the surface, down here, the ocean is resting in its bed. It's silent. So all you've got to do is sink down below the surface a little bit. How do you do that? Well, the good news is that gravity pulls us. Gravity pulls us. That's why this is my new book, Natural Meditation, just came out in February. And the fine folks at Tarcher Penguin put a feather, this lovely picture of a feather on the front. And if you look closely, you can see there's a very delicate little shadow. The feather is just about to settle on the ground. When a feather is floating out of the sky, floating toward the ground, oh, you just saw this on the cartoon, right? Okay, it's some of you. It's floating, and the reason that it settles to the ground is that gravity is pulling it. Gravity is irresistible in 100% of cases. Okay? Sometimes it'll take a while. The feather starts to drift to the left. Now it's drifting to the right. That's okay. If we try to, I can walk, I just remembered I've got one of these mics so I can pace around. If you've got the inclination to try to drive the process, which is what most people just assume, of course I've got to do that because I have to drive everything else in my life. I have to drive my career. I have to drive my relationships. I have to drive my kids to school. So it's very understandable. We think, okay, I've got to drive the meditation. Now, if we try to drive the meditation, we go, oh, the feather's going too far to the left. It's supposed to be going down. Now it's going to the right. Is it going farther to the right than it did to the left? Now it's lodged in a tree branch. It'll never hit the ground now. Chill. Okay? Just relax. Don't worry about it. Gravity is doing the job. There's all kinds of factors involved in why it's drifting to the left now, why it's going to the right now, which we'll never know, we can't know, we don't have to know. But Mother Nature is taking care of it. We're not driving. Mother is driving. Any of you ever watched The Simpsons? The Simpsons? Most intelligent show on television? Okay. In the opening, we're introduced to the whole Simpson family, and there's Homer working at the nuclear plant, and Lisa playing the saxophone, and Bart on his skateboard. And then we have a close-up of little baby Maggie Simpson sucking on her pacifier and working a steering wheel, and we hear the sounds of traffic, and we think, oh my God, this is terrible. A baby's driving a car. And then the camera pulls back, and we see, oh, no, she's just sitting in the baby seat. It's a toy steering wheel. Mom is driving. Marge is driving. That's us. We're baby Maggie. Okay. Mom is taking care of it. Mother Nature is driving. And fine, if you to amuse yourself, say, oh, now I'm going to the left. Now I'm going, no. Beep, 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 beep. It doesn't have really any effect in the big picture. Mom is in charge. So how does Mother Nature run the universe? Through the laws of physics, like the law of gravity. Now, in the case of human consciousness, what is human consciousness? What is our mind always gravitating toward? What are we drawn toward? What's name anything you're drawn toward? We're drawn toward thoughts? Okay. Drawn toward worries? Okay. Drawn toward silence? Okay. Now that's interesting. What if I set up 3 tables here, and one with a sign that says, get your free thoughts here, and one that says, get your free worries here, and one that says, get your free silence here? Which one will you go toward? Worries, really? Which one do you want to go toward? Silence. Okay, and what I would suggest to you is that you're always being drawn toward silence, and you're not drawn toward the worries, you bump into them. You know, you can be driving to Disneyland and you might bump into, a tree or something, but you're not being drawn toward the tree. The tree is not what the mind has a natural inclination toward. Human beings are silence-seeking, happiness-seeking, fulfillment-seeking organisms. It's the way we're wired. If I'm standing here right now and I seem to be pretty much holding people's interest, I'm saying some stuff that's of some, interest to you perhaps, but what if a second person walks over to this microphone and starts talking about something else that is more fascinating, or does it in a more compelling way, or they bring Gino back to sing, and now all of a sudden it's Gino versus Dino, and she's got this beautiful voice and my voice is whatever, you're going to be listening to her, and you don't even have to make a decision. Automatically, the mind is drawn. Human attention, human consciousness is drawn to the field of greater enjoyment. Spontaneously. We don't really have a choice. And everything else is what we encounter along the way. And I'm not talking about just in meditation, every moment of our lives. When you go for ice cream and you're standing in line and looking up at the Ben & Jerry's menu and deciding what to order, I know what you want. You want nirvana. You want the kingdom of heaven which is within you. You want infinite, boundless silence, happiness, fulfillment, wholeness. Self with a capital S. All these different words for the same thing the different names for the same thing that can't be named. But we all have a sense of it. And we all feel drawn toward it. That's why you're here. That's what you want to order, but it's not on the menu. So you settle for Moose Tracks or Cherry Garcia. And that essentially is the story of our lives. In different forms, that's what we're doing all the time. We're seeking that infinite, that sense that just somehow everything is infinitely okay. This experience of infinite okayness. And we all get glimpses of it. You know, it might be in some moment while listening to music. It might be while you're, if you do a sport or a creative art and you're feeling in the zone. And, you know, there's just that feeling of, oh, everything is flowing and I somehow don't feel so tightly bound up in my body, that expansive feeling. And I see some heads nodding. You know what I'm talking about. So it's very natural. I think probably all humans have some spontaneous experiences of it. But in Western culture, we don't have a vocabulary for it, which is why Western culture has had to evolve some new, more forward-looking churches like this to explore these things, to develop a vocabulary for it, to help, because vocabulary helps people pay attention. And no, it wasn't just some, what was that weird thing? Oh, I don't know, never mind. That happened to me when I was 12 years old. I was, who said worries before? Right, okay. I was 12 years old, and I had a mind that was really hyperactive and just constantly chasing its tail. What about this? What about that? And I was in the middle of one of these things, and my mom sent me out to the garage to clear all my junk, my toys and comic books and those of my brothers out of the Nash Rambler station wagon. And I'm doing it, and my mind is completely caught up, and the next thing I pick up is a Mad magazine. And on the cover is who? Alfred E. Newman. Okay, always on the cover of every Mad magazine. Alfred E. Newman with his protruding ears and his buck teeth and his silly grin. And his slogan, which is, what, me worry? What, me worry? And all of a sudden, and I swear this is a true story, my mind just went. I realized that this thing I'd been doing for 12 years was called worry, and that I had been doing it, that it was actually a choice. And having chosen to do it, I could choose to not do it anymore. I could choose to drop it, and it just completely dropped away. And I went into a, so thick you could cut it with a knife state of what I later learned some words for, like samadhi and satori and so forth. At the time, I just completely blissfully floated through the rest of the day and the evening till I went to sleep that night. In the morning, it was gone, and I sort of forgot about it till years later. I started reading about those things. Oh, yeah, that's what that was. And then here were these books, and here were these teachers saying, yeah, and it doesn't have to happen just arbitrarily once every 12 years or so. You can't make it happen because it's all about non-effort. If you're trying to make it happen, then you're beating at the waves. But you can put yourself in a position to maximize its chance of happening to you. You can set yourself on the surface of the ocean and just gently get guided into the depths and let gravity take over. Okay? And so I hooked up with these teachers, and I found out that they were right. It really did work. My teachers encouraged me to teach, and as Reverend Heather mentioned, I've studied with teachers in a number of traditions, including transcendental meditation, Advaita Vedanta, Dzogchen, Vajrayana Buddhism, Bhakti Yoga, and found that same thread in each one. In some of them, the thread was very clear, and some I had to dig a little to find it, but that thread was there. So I was able to corroborate, not just in my own experience, but in the experience of, the road testing of the techniques over hundreds of years. Let's do some. Okay, so I want to invite, please sit comfortably. And all the years that I've been doing this and standing or sitting in front of rooms full of people and giving that instruction, please sit comfortably. One of the great mysteries of my life is that then everyone changes how they were sitting. Why were they sitting uncomfortably? I don't know. So what I would like to ask you, and this is actually the most important thing of the whole day today, is think about everything you've ever done in the name of meditation. I know you practice some meditation here, or meditation you've practiced at home, or maybe you've never practiced meditation before, some of the visitors here. Fine, great. Anything you've read about meditation in any book, including mine. Anything you've heard, anything you've suspected, anything you've hoped or feared about meditation. Maybe we could imagine that it's all written down in a big book that says, My Notions of Meditation. Okay? So I would like you to visualize that big book, my notions, my ideas, my past experiences, my expectations, hopes, and fears about meditation. And we take that book and now burn it. Okay? I would like you for now to check everything at the door. You can pick it all up again on your way out if you like. Okay? Not that it doesn't mean that everything you did before was wrong, but that what are we doing here? We're entering, this is all about entering into the kingdom of heaven, which is within you. And you probably heard this from this very stage before. To enter into the kingdom of heaven, you have to be like a little child. You have to be like a young child, which means fresh, just clean slate, innocent. And all that means is when the thoughts come up about previous experiences or expectations, like, oh, meditation, I think I'm supposed to breathe a certain way. I'm supposed to breathe like this? Or am I supposed to not have thoughts? Or am I supposed to feel spiritual? Or am I supposed to whatever, X, Y, Z? Just you know what those thoughts are called? Thoughts. You have this thought that you're not supposed to have thoughts? That's just a thought. Disregard it. You let them knock at the door, but don't answer. You don't have to push those thoughts away. You don't have to push anything away. But just don't buy into it. Okay, can everyone agree to be on board with that? Okay, good, because that's the way we'll all get the most out of this. So we don't know what's going to happen next. And when I say we, that means me too, because this is natural meditation. Nature does not, Mother Nature is driving. I'm not driving. So the first thing I would invite you to do is explore, feel around how you're sitting in the chair and feel for what is the most natural, comfortable, alert yet relaxed way for you to sit in that chair. I can't tell you how to sit. I'm not in your body. But, so if you're sitting with your arms like this, try it like this. If you've got your legs like this, try it like this. Or if they're like this, try it like this. And see what allows gravity to just plant you in the seat the best. Okay? And you know what? Move around a little. I'd like to see people really, really exploring and try and really see what's the least working way, the least effortful way to be in the seat. Okay? Maybe shake your hands out a little bit. Get your hands nice and loose, like rubbery. And then just see which way your hands want to flop. How do they want to flop onto your knees or your lap? Okay. Good. And let's play with sound a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about different on-ramps into meditation, and sound is one very powerful traditional on-ramp into natural meditation. So let's start by, let's explore and see what happens if you really kind of screw up your face into some really, pinched, tight, narrow, pinch your face together as much as you can, and then vocalize. See what kind of sound comes out when you make a sound that way. Really, really play. Get crazy with this. And then start relaxing your face, but keep vocalizing and find what's the most relaxed sound you can make. Let your jaw start to drop. Keep vocalizing. Keep vocalizing. Keep vocalizing. Let your jaw drop all the way open. Ah. Okay, we seem to have a consensus here. Ah. Okay, so you can close your eyes and let's continue. Let's take in a nice deep breath and just feel the body filling up with air and go, just letting go, like air coming out of a balloon. And breathing in again and doing it. Let me hear you. Put a little gusto in it, okay? And and just notice how that feels. Again. You know what? Keep doing it on your own time. We don't have to start and end together. Again, so it's natural. You're following the length of your own breath. And let it start getting a little softer. Keep going, quiet, but doing it. And just barely a sound at all now. Now not making a sound, but just mentally letting the subtle echo of that continue by itself. And just rest the attention in that subtle echo. Just resting the attention in that subtle, faint notion of maybe more of a feeling than even a sound. Just a faint idea. Not trying to concentrate, not trying to push anything away, not trying to make anything happen, not trying to feel any special way. We're not driving. We're just along for the ride in the vehicle of sounds come and go in the background. That's fine. Thoughts come and go. That's fine. Everything's fine. Just lightly, lightly resting in that faint feeling of and letting it be however it is. Letting it go however it goes. Nothing that we encounter is wrong or a mistake or a problem. It's all just the process of the feather floating however it's going to float. Not trying to silence the mind, not trying to manipulate it in any way. Just giving up to the process, just giving up to And maybe that feeling of awe becomes so faint that we can't even call it that it's just silence. Just melts into the silence. And that's fine. Just melt into the silence with it. Let it be. Let it go, however it goes. Doesn't matter if there are few thoughts or many thoughts or what they're about. It's just there in the background. Doesn't matter if feelings come along, feelings of happiness, sadness, agitation, tranquility. It's just more stuff in the background. We just rest in this subtle, faint awe as it goes however it goes, or just as it melts into silence. Not trying to concentrate on it or focus, just resting there, naturally resting. Okay. Now let's take a couple of minutes and just slowly start to stir in the seat, start to rouse the body into a little more active state. Don't open your eyes right away. Just wiggle your fingers, maybe stretch your limbs a little. Really take your time easing the body back to a more active state. After a couple of minutes, when you feel ready, you can slowly start to crack the eyes open. I'm sorry. Okay. If you're still opening your eyes, take your time. It's fine. Any questions or comments, observations based on whatever just happened while we were sitting there with our eyes closed? Yes. Oh, you should be so ashamed of yourself. Yeah. But it felt really good, and it felt really good. Thank you. I think I want you to teach the rest of this workshop today. No, really, you got it. You got it. And some of you may have heard how, or even practiced meditation in situations where, oh, if you fall asleep, that's the meditation police are going to come take you away and lock you up, and you have to resist sleep, however hard it. If you resist sleep, it's unnatural, isn't it? If you're falling asleep in meditation, you know why? You needed some sleep. It's your nervous system naturally telling you what it needs. And if you're cooperating with Mother Nature, you take the cue. Now, what I find is that, and I've corroborated this in the experience of a lot of other people, is that the sleep that comes during meditation, there's something especially delicious about it because it's being launched from that level of ease, that level of relaxation. So it tends to be very concentrated. Right now because the new book is out, I'm doing a lot of traveling around the country. I was doing a workshop like this in New Jersey this time yesterday. And on my way to Mountain View and then Kansas City and all kinds of places. So I'm not always getting a lot of sleep, and I'm jumping on planes and so forth. So I could be up here leading the workshop, the meditation, and why hasn't that guy said anything, Bruin? Yeah. So no, that's great. That's great, and because otherwise, and I can see it. Sometimes if I'm leading a group like this, once in a while there's a little professional secret. I'll crack an eyelid open just to make sure, everyone's okay because I'm responsible. I'm steering the ship here. And I'll see someone sitting there going, and they might do that for 15, 20 minutes. And that's pretty useless because then it's like you're not getting sleep and you're not really meditating. Better to just fall asleep. Then you sleep for a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. And then when you're awake, great, then you meditate and it's fresh and it's great. Okay, so this is not what you're going to be told everywhere and probably in most places. But all I can tell you is from all my research personally, vicariously in the books, this is what works. Now, if it happens every time, then you might want to look into a few things. Okay, like for instance, if you're regularly meditating right after a heavy meal, that would tend to make you fall asleep. Or if you're doing it, some people can meditate close to bedtime every night, and it's really nice and clear. And some people it'll just be sleep. Okay. Oh, say the first part again. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Chatter. Anyone notice any chatter? Yeah, of course. Yeah, me too. Every time I close my eyes, I've been doing this for 40-something years. Okay? That chatter is what I was calling the waves. And the main thing to know about that is perfect, primo. Abandon all hope of getting rid of that chatter. And abandon all notions that it's necessary to get rid of it. Sometimes it happens to fall away, but you know what? That's none of our business. Sometimes it's up. It doesn't matter. We just allow ourselves to sink down. Yeah, how many people notice that? Oh, there was some feeling of quietness. Oh yeah, words I love to hear. Okay, I'm seeing just about every hand, and even if there's a few people that I'm not sure I felt any quietness at all, that's fine. Some people maybe subjectively you're not sure you felt any quietness. Some people feel vaguely, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's something kind of nice. And some people go, oh yeah. That's all fine. It's all good. Let me get to you in just a second. Subjectively, the experience is always going to be different. And also for each person at any given moment in any given session, what's going on with the feather Is going to be, oh, it's drifting more to the right, it's drifting more to the left. Oh, it's really kissing the ground right now. And that's that, and Mother Nature's driving it. So it's fine. The main thing is that whatever, I'm not even fond of the word chatter because it sounds too much like there's something wrong with that. I just call it ripples. There's ripples of thought, ripples of sound, ripples of feelings, and it's all just there, and we just, and did you notice the people saying that, yeah, I settled down, that you were settled down and there were thoughts going on? How many people noticed that? Yeah, it's not, the thoughts didn't stop, and here's maybe the main thing for you to walk away with today. The thoughts don't have to stop. What do we do about thoughts in meditation? Forget about it. I just spent 33 years living in New Jersey, and I learned there from the great guru Tony Soprano, whose mantra of wisdom was, forget about it. He had another one. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing. Good. Yes, back there. And please speak a little louder. My hearing is slightly challenged, I think. Yes. Ah. Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on one second. We got to get rid of the reverb, unless you're going to sing some Motown.
Unless I let go.
Oh, yes, yes. You know what? Would you start your question from the beginning? Some people haven't heard it at all.
Can you hear me?
Wait.
Hi.
There you go.
There
Perfect.
Sometimes I have a fear of that maybe I can't come back, that I will be lost in this la-la land, and that I'll get so sound or so deep. And I want to get rid of that fear because that's no fun. I'm getting better at it, but do other people have that? Or
Yeah. So yes, the fear that, let me just say this. You should be so lucky. Stuck in the divine honeypot, right? Just nestled in the arms of God in the land of Nirvana, and it was so nice that I forgot to come back and file my tax return. All right. And you know what the proper response would be if that happened? What are you going to do? Okay. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. It's not. It doesn't happen that way. That fear that you have, you know what that's called? That's called a fear. It's not a reality. It's a feeling, right? Fear is a feeling. Anger is a feeling. Joy is a feeling. They're called feelings for a reason. And this is something, it's like should be so obvious, but a lot of people, no one maybe has brought your attention to this. You know why they're called feelings? Because they feel a certain way. Right? You're hearing that? They feel like when you feel joy, when you get good news, your grandchild comes home with a good report card, or you find out that your book, you just sold your next book to the publisher. That's the one for me. What does that feel like? For me, I would describe it's kind of an effervescent feeling, like a champagne feeling around my skull. Is that and something kind of swelling in a nice way in the chest? Does that ring a? Maybe you would describe it a different way. But the point, it's not important how it feels, but that it's a feeling, right? Anger feels a certain way. When you're driving on the 5 or the 405 or the 73, whatever you've got out here, and someone cuts you off. And notice next time what that feels like. It registers somewhere in the body. And the same thing with fear. It's just a feeling. Now, it seems like a simple insight, but it's a very powerful insight. This is an insight that can change your life. I was actually, on my visit to New Jersey just now, I took a day, I was in New York with an old student of mine and visiting a headmaster I used to work for who's actually in hospice, and we had some nice long discussions together. And this former student of mine who had had some horrible experiences in New York of some, being beat up in the street and some horrible things. And she had called me when it happened several months ago, and I kind of talked her through it. And it was, pay attention to the feelings. Feel them as feelings. Feel the feelings as feelings. Don't try to suppress them. Don't try to amplify them. And don't buy into the story that's connected with them, the thoughts associated with them, that, oh, this has to do with that thing back when I was hypnotized and all that. Because you know what those stories are called? Stories. The story is the story. That's over here. The feeling is the feeling. That's over here. That story is made out of thoughts. And like any other thoughts in meditation, it's just something in the background. That we don't try to push it away, but we don't buy into it. It's like watching the train go by. Don't try to stop the train. Don't get on the tracks and go like this. You'll get run over. But don't jump aboard the boxcar. Let it go by. It's none of your business. It's just thoughts. It's just stories. Let the feeling flood if it's going to flood. Let Mother Nature do it. And sometimes this might involve, and this, by the way, not only in meditation, but particularly if you're in a situation, especially situations of trauma, or situations of, you're going through some emotional thing, or you're going through a divorce, you got some bad news, something happened to one of your kids or something. You do what you have to do. We don't go off into, we don't become impractical. But in terms of, but dealing with these feelings in an effective way is going to help us be more effective. And if you're in a situation where the feelings just seem overwhelming or just really distracting you from being effective, the best thing to do, this, by the way, this is something I learned from a Tibetan Lama that I studied with back in the early 90s, Nakchung Rinpoche. And this is traditional. This is translated right out of Tibetan scripture. Let it flood. Not act it out. No. Let it flood doesn't mean let it flood into your activity with other people. That's going to create all kinds of problems. But go into a room somewhere, maybe a room with a lot of pillows, and let it flood. It's like a flower opening up, like a bud opening up and then blossoming, and then in its own time the petals open fully and then drop to the ground, and then it's done. Because usually when people have these kinds of fears or traumas that go on for years, it's because you haven't fully let it flood. Because you were afraid of it. You were, in this case, afraid of the fear. Some people are afraid of their anger, you let it flood fully once or twice or 5 times, whatever it takes, and then it's done. Then you're clear. You're hearing this, aren't you? Yeah, that's good. That's good. Any other? I'll get to the person in the back in just one moment. Anything else on that particular topic? Because that's so. I've found it's very crucial information for a lot of people. Yes.
Yeah, when I started meditating, one thing I found really alarming is that it made me really angry.
Uh-huh.
And it actually made me stop initially.
Right.
Because I thought, I must really be doing this wrong.
Uh-huh.
Because I was thinking, oh, it's going to increase my creativity.
Wait, hold on a second. We're getting a lot of reverb there. Is that? Okay, try again. Maybe move the mic away a little bit. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was the anger that really...
No, Okay, try, just say 1, 2.
So when I
Good.
started to get angry, I thought I must be doing this wrong. No one gets angry from meditating.
Oh, yeah, they do. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's just what I wanted to share. 'Cause
Okay.
I wanted to make sure other
Great.
people.
Did anyone else today feel something else come? Why am I feeling angry or sad or any other time you're meditating? Today or other times? Yeah. Okay. There's 2 possibilities for why that happened. One is, as you said, is because you were doing it wrong, and the other is because you were doing it right. Okay? Doing it, I don't like to use judgmental words like wrong, but okay, doing it unnaturally or doing it naturally. Doing it unnaturally, depending on, what kind of instruction you received or how you were doing it out of books yourself or whatever. If you were trying to meditate, right? And by the way, you're all familiar with that Tom Hanks movie, A League of Their Own? And what's his great line in that film? There's no crying in baseball. You can find that on YouTube. It's great. He goes on for about 5 minutes. He says that in about 20 different ways. It's brilliant. There's no crying in baseball. I've had so many people say to me, well, I tried to meditate, but on the back cover here, it says, there's no trying in meditation. Okay? So if you tried to meditate, if you try to meditate, it's very likely it's going to make you angry. It's going to make you frustrated. It's going to, because the moment you're trying to block thoughts out, you're trying to focus as hard as you can on the mantra or the breath or whatever you're using as the object of meditation. If you're trying to ... whatever, because that's unnatural, it's going to cause feelings of frustration and possibly anger. So that's the one possibility. The other possibility is you were meditating in a nice, natural, easeful way, allowing Mother Nature to take over. And again, you may have been using, as the object of meditation, a sound, as we did here, like ah or some other sound, or the breath. It doesn't matter much what the vehicle is. It's how you drive the vehicle. And if you were driving the vehicle in this natural way that I'm advocating for here, you just, your hand lightly on the wheel, letting Mother Nature, letting Marge Simpson drive the car, really, then things are naturally going to tend to settle down. As they settle down, old stuff can start to come out. As actually that same Tibetan teacher, Nakchang Rinpoche, as he explained it, it's like when you take a rubber band and you twist it up. That's what's happening to our nervous system for most of our life. We're getting subjected to all kinds of large and small stresses and traumas. The rubber band gets twisted up. Then, when we meditate, it's like taking the twisted up rubber band and setting it on a bare tabletop and letting it unravel. Now, that unraveling is a good thing, and it happens very naturally. But as it unravels, naturally, it jerks and dances around a little bit, sometimes a lot. And that jerking and dancing around can take many forms. One form that some of you may have noticed, either today or at other times, is literally jerking. Like, has anyone ever noticed that? Like a muscle will jerk, or your spine will do something like that. Yeah, I see a lot of people nodding. That's what's going on. The stress, the little and large stresses and traumas are getting unraveled. So that's a good thing. Now, it doesn't mean, okay, therefore I should jerk my muscles around. That's backwards. That's cart before the horse. It happens in a natural way. And by the way, some people may do their whole meditation career all the way from here to nirvana without ever having a muscle jerk. It's just totally individual. There's no way to predict it. So one way it can happen is through that. Another way it can happen, can be expressed, that unraveling, is through sudden welling up of emotions, like fear or anger or fill in the blank. Now, once again, we will, of course, tend to associate the feeling with some story. Now, this is actually beautiful, two beautiful textbook cases, because over here, she's associating it with the story of something that happened in the past. You're associating, she's saying, oh, this fear is from this thing that happened 15 years ago or whatever. You're associating it with the thing happening in the present. Oh, this anger is coming from the meditation. Meditation is making me angry. Okay? Both stories are equally just stories. What in Yiddish is called Baba Maisa. Anyone know that? Anyone know that? Isn't that a great expression? Yeah, Baba Maisa literally means it's a grandma story, like an old wives' tale. Okay, it's I don't know, maybe that's not so politically correct. It sounds a little sexist or ageist or something. But it's like, oh yeah, there's Bubby. Grandma is going on with one of her stories. Yeah, okay. It's Baba Maisa. We don't duct tape Bubby's mouth shut. But in other words, we don't try to silence those thoughts, but we just don't pay a lot of attention to them. And just again, notice the sensation, which probably seems, if you're caught up in the emotional end of it or in the story, you've not noticed that there are physical sensations present. Anytime they're strong, anytime, in or out of meditation, anytime there's strong emotion, there will be physical sensations. Easily rest your attention on the sensations in that situation and let it flood. Write it out. Because normally what happens is we think, oh, this is wrong. I'm meditating. I'm meditating to feel bliss, not to feel anger. This is wrong. So you try to suppress it. You try to choke it down. That feels bad. Anger itself does not necessarily feel bad. What feels bad is the suppression of it. And then next time it starts to come up, again, in or out of meditation, oh, here comes that anger again, better choke it down. Yeah, just like I thought, it feels bad, so I better choke. You see, it's a self-fulfilling thing. What if feelings are just feelings? What if they're like just different kinds of weather? I had a friend of mine, her pet peeve was what she called editorializing weathermen. Now, here in San Clemente, we don't need weathermen. We can have an app, an iPhone app that just says, beautiful day today. You can have that as your alarm. Wake you up. Good morning. Another beautiful day in San Clemente. But back in New Jersey, right, we would have weathermen, and they would say, or weather women, and weather persons, and they would say things like, oh, beautiful day today, but oh, look out for tomorrow. It's going to rain. Bad news. Now, aside from the fact that we need rain to live, as we're very aware here in California right now, what if weather is just weather? What if we love a rainy day? What if weather is just weather? What if we don't have to judge it? And what if we can consider these different feelings that we associate with our feelings, that they're just like different kinds of neurological weather? Okay? Is that making sense? Yeah. So this way, instead of suppressing it once and for all, maybe it'll be more than once, maybe it'll be 3 times, maybe it'll be 10 times. Mother Nature's driving, I can't tell. But this way, you let it come out and then it's done. And then what's left is clarity, openness, which is highly recommended. Yes? Oh, we're going to run you a mic. No, we want everyone to be able to hear you. Yes. And by the way, also we're streaming on the internet. Hello, World Wide Web. So we want everyone in the world to hear you. But don't be nervous. By the way, here's how you use a a handheld microphone. Hold it like an ice cream cone. Like an ice cream cone. Perfect.
Hello, testing, 1, 2.
We're talking about meditation as something. You still can't? We're talking about meditation.
Yes.
Interesting slip.
Mhm.
As something self-actualized. What is the prime difference between meditation and hypnosis?
Okay. What is the difference between meditation and hypnosis? Okay, I've never, first the disclaimer, I've never been hypnotized in the technical sense of the word. I've never participated in that. So in that sense, I'm completely unqualified to respond to your question. Needless to say, that's not going to stop me. Okay? Hypnosis is all around us. Okay? TV commercials, politics, everyone's trying to hypnotize you. Anytime hypnosis, my understanding is hypnosis is a situation where your attention gets fixated on something, and then maybe certain suggestions are given to you, so you become convinced, you're biting into a Bermuda onion and you're convinced that you're biting into a delicious Fuji apple or something. That's going on all around us. You're convinced to vote for this politician because they're going to be the savior of democracy, and maybe they're actually the savior of whatever, XYZ corporation. They were sold as the apple, they were the onion. In that sense, I would say meditation is kind of the opposite of hypnosis. It's deconditioning, it's deprogramming, it's de-fixation of your attention. Instead of being in this one thing, everyone is telling us, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain, right? Pay attention to this, pay attention to that. And hypnosis, again, my imperfect understanding, works by using that capability of narrowing our focus. What meditation does in that sense is it frees you from the narrowing, frees you from the suggestibility. It's an opening of the eyes. And I'm really glad you brought this up. It's a good point, because people often think of meditation as some form of hypnosis, some form of trance, and really it's coming out of the trance, coming out of the sleepwalking that most people are doing. Of course, we all know one of the most famous, historically famous proponents of meditation was the Buddha. Anyone know what the word Buddha means? It means awake one. It means awakener. Awakener. The Buddha was someone who awakened himself, as you said, self-actualizing. Awakened himself and then helped other people. Then not went around and awakened other people, but helped show other people how to awaken themselves. Because no one else can do it for you. No one else. Other people can show you, okay, here's some approaches, here's some steps, here's some techniques. And if you're lucky, in my opinion, someone will show you, look how easy it can be. Look how easy it can be. And then you wake up. And you find out that one thing you find out, a lot of people find out, is that a lot of things they were worrying about, it's really not so much to worry about. What happened, maybe you experienced this when you were a kid, or when your mom tells you, okay, Jimmy, on Friday, you're going to the doctor for your checkup. Now maybe it's Monday. Now little Jimmy has 4 days. He asks his mom, is he going to give me a shot? And is it going to be in my arm or in my hiney? Right? Well, yeah, he's going to have to give you a shot. Oh, no. So now little Jimmy has 4 days to fixate his attention on that idea of the shot, to hypnotize himself with the whole notion of the shot. Right? He has, now, it's fascinating, really. But, I mean, the human mind is just a wonderful machine for doing all kinds of crazy things. How long, the actual time of getting the shot, getting the pain, how long does that last? 2 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds. Okay? But look what he's done. He gets to spend 4 days suffering in anticipation. And then afterward, when he comes back to school on Monday, he can stand out on the playground and tell all his little friends how bad it was so they can start worrying about their next checkup. Okay? I mean, come on, this is the world we live in. And that is the way of being and the way of functioning that almost everyone you know is going to reinforce. Right? You know, I mean, everything to the evening news. I was watching the news once, the last time I watched the news, it was a couple of years ago, and someone was asking a tax expert, do we have to worry about higher taxes for next year? Okay, yeah, if you want to, sure. As the old saying says, I heard someone quote this before, you know, the more you worry, the longer you'll live. Right? I mean, so yeah, it's ironic. The thing is, I know the answer. I don't know anything about taxes, but I know the answer to that question. Do we have to worry about higher taxes next year? The answer is no. We don't have to worry about it. We might get higher taxes. We might get lower taxes. They might be the same, but guaranteed your worrying about it will have no effect either way. There's a wonderful line from a 6th century Indian Buddhist sage named Shantideva. I quote this in the book. I've started putting this now in every book that I write because it's just about my favorite quote. Maybe I'll get this as a tattoo one day. Shantideva, in a book called The Way of the Bodhisattva, said, if there's a solution to the problem, what's the point of worrying? If there's no solution to the problem, what's the point of worrying? Can you hear that? Can you hear that? If you really hear that, there's a lot of liberation right there. Okay. So mostly most people are in a state of hypnosis, being hypnotized into worry circuits, being reinforced by almost everyone around them. And this is one of the reasons why it's so valuable to have a place like this to come to, and to have a group like this that is getting that other orientation, and having, teachers like this to help remind you and point to the fact that, look, all the scriptures, whether they're the Buddhist scriptures, the Christian scriptures, they all say, no, my yoke is light. It's easy. You just take it easy. What? Me worry? Yes. What else? Yes. Microphone. Yeah. Can we keep them, Darren, can we keep the mic in the house instead of keep running it back? No, over here. Over here.
Thank you. Can you comment on where, I realize some people just meditate at the drop of a hat, but I have observed meditating in a peaceful surrounding like this, it's very easy to stay with it and let the feather drift. Mm-hmm. But when I'm in my office, inevitably, I realize there's something I need to make a note of or something like that. It's enormously difficult not to come out of the process and start dealing with the room I'm in. So can you comment at all about the right place or how you deal with a situation?
Everyone heard that? Yeah. Okay. By the way, I love this group. I love the questions you're coming up with. This is just really great stuff. First of all, a place like this, and and having a nice quiet place and a bunch of like-minded people with you, who are, there's actually been some research suggesting that some of you may be familiar with the EEG, some of the EEG studies that show that when a person meditates, the brain waves from the different parts of the brain become more synchronous, right, within the individual. There's also been at least one study done in Switzerland where they took a multi-lead EEG machine, hook up 16 people at once and have them meditate together. And what they found was interpersonal brainwave synchrony, that the whole group was literally coming into harmony. So we talk about harmony in the world, peace in the world, getting your head together, then getting your head together with other people's heads. Literally, it's going on. So yes, all this helps. There is, in fact, a group buzz, as it were. There is a feeling, often when I'm in a group, it feels like the whole submarine is going down. And that's helpful, and having a quiet place. Having some guy up here with a soothing voice or something, that's all helpful. That's all training wheels. In fact, it's all training wheels, right? All the techniques, the mantras, the Buddha said all the Dharma, and in Buddhist lingo, as some of you know, Dharma means the whole enlightenment teaching, all the meditative approaches, all the discourses of the Buddha, all the insights, all of that stuff. He said the Dharma should not be turned into a religion. Of course, then they turned it into a religion. Happens every time. So the Buddha said, the Dharma should not be held up as a religion. The Dharma is like a raft. You take it to cross the river to the far shore. Then you may be very grateful to the raft. You may appreciate the raft. But it would be foolish to carry the raft around on your back. Okay? So it's all training wheels. And you use the training wheels for as long as you need them. And then you start to kick them away. And anytime I'm with a group like this or an individual, basically I'm trying to suss out how small can I make the training wheels. I want to get rid of them as fast as I can, but not faster than that. So for a while, I actually have a piece that I just wrote for LA Yoga magazine. It should be coming out, I think, in a month or so, called Cave Optional. Cave Optional. Because for years I'd give talks like this, and I'd say, you don't have to shave your head, you don't have to wear an orange robe, you don't have to go sit in a cave in India. And then I went to India and sat in a couple of caves. And you know what? It was pretty cool. Things got really quiet outside and inside. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe you don't have to, but, whoa, it's good. But what is also good is then to come back, and the other thing that I love almost as much, or yeah, in a different way I love as much as sitting in a cave in India, is sitting meditating on a subway in New York, which I was just on a couple of days ago, because it's so loud, it's so crowded, it's so sweaty, to have all that going on the outside, and on the inside, here's the real cave. The real cave's on the inside. And there's something about that contrast that's just delicious and hilarious, So, training wheels, for as long as you need them. But what I would say is do both. Keep doing both. I was on a retreat once in Connecticut with a wonderful Lama from Nepal named Tsoknyi Rinpoche. And by the way, Richard Gere was on that retreat. He was down the hall from me, and nicest guy, completely humble, just for the record. Just a completely sincere student. I was walking down the hall one day with a bunch of stuff from my car and started dropping it, and he came out of his room and started helping me. And on that retreat, we were doing long hours of sitting meditation, and then during the day, just in between sessions, walking around. But the idea is it's all kind of meditation, walking meditation. And in one of the meetings, I raised my hand and I asked the Lama, Tsoknyi Rinpoche, I said, what I've found is that on this retreat anyway, when I'm sitting in so-called formal meditation, just my mind is racing and I feel very unsettled, blah, blah, blah. And I feel very settled and things feel very quiet inside when I'm just out walking in the woods. So my question is, should I sit more or should I walk more? And he said, without missing a beat, he said, both. Right? So in the same way, I would say to you, do both. And when you're sitting in the office and you're feeling, oh no, I got to make a note of this right now. I got to do that right now. Tie yourself to the mast and don't do it. And notice what that feels like. And that feeling of, I'm going to guess, anxiety. Oh, but I'm not doing this thing that needs to be done. I'm not making a note of that thing and I'm going to forget it. Okay? Feel what that feeling of anxiety feels like. So now we've had fear, anger, anxiety. One more kind of weather. One more sense of physical. Maybe it'll feel like butterflies in your stomach. Maybe it'll feel like tightness in your chest or perspiring in your hands or something. Or maybe something more subtle than that. Whatever it is, instead of getting caught up in the story of, I got to do X, Y, Z right now, just note the sensations until in their own time they flood and then subside. And this is the way to find freedom wherever you are without necessarily having to drive to Puerta del Sol or wherever we are right now. Okay? Is that making sense? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, in the back and then you. Okay, wait for the mic, please.
Twofold.
Yes.
One, when I'm sitting in meditation
Mm-hmm.
and I drop down really deep, there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of energy. That's what I'm going to call it. A lot of energy moving through me, so much so that my teeth start to chatter.
Mm.
In groups, sometimes that can be a little distracting.
Mm-hmm.
So the second part of that is, I'm not clear what to do with it or if I really need to do anything with it, if it's just part of my process.
Yeah, this is one more kind of feeling. Feel what it feels like and let it happen. And if the teeth chatter, and I mean, all this stuff is in what one of my teachers used to call the standard catalog of experiences. I was on a retreat once, and on retreat, have any of you been on retreats where you meditate for hours a day? And where this kind of thing tends to happen with, much more intensely, because you're like really flushing your radiator, really getting all the old junk and traumas out. And I remember being on one retreat where in the course of an afternoon, I went through chills and fevers. I mean, my body trembling. This is extreme stuff. This may, maybe most people that would never happen to. But just know any of this stuff that can happen, it's all something good. I was on one retreat, one guy who years before had broken his leg. And, it had mended. The doctor said, you're fine. You're just like anyone else now, good as new. And that had been like, 10 years earlier. He's sitting in meditation on this retreat, and he starts feeling this buzzing sensation right where the break had been in the leg. Okay? But what was happening, of course, was that was getting healed on a deeper level. So it's just important to know something good is happening. We don't have to manage it. Mother Nature's taking care of it. We're along for the ride. If the teeth chatter, and if the people around you are bothered by it, screw them. That gives them something to deal with, right? And because they've all got it, as long as everyone's getting the memo. The memo is whatever's going on, traffic's going on. I want to read you something from my book. Okay. This is in a chapter on fine print of meditation, and it's kind of in a Q&A format. So the question is, I can't find a quiet place to meditate. Answer, excellent, perfect. Question, but the noise is so distracting. Answer, actually it isn't. Your quest for silence is distracting. Please consider 2 places where I've frequently led sessions. 1, a cozy meditation center converted from a graceful craftsman-style home under a couple of palm trees in Santa Monica, a few blocks from the beach and the sidewalk cafes of Main Street. An affluent older couple often attends. As soon as we finish and open our eyes, they both invariably start complaining about the occasional buses that run past the place, quote, ruining the experience, close quote. 2, the bleak cinder block chapel of a maximum security prison in Newark, New Jersey. A huge loudspeaker hangs directly above our heads. About half a dozen times per session, bone-rattlingly loud announcements come over the speaker and ricochet against the bare walls. Attention all areas, attention all units, Spanish choir out to the gym, Spanish choir out to the gym. My inmate students continue to sit, unfazed. No one complains. We live in a noisy world. If you set yourself the task of shushing it, your work will never be done. Fortunately, noise is no problem. Noise is just noise. Actually, it's just sound. When we call it noise, we're already subtly judging it, labeling it as an annoyance, as something that shouldn't be there. What do the prisoners have going for them that the complaining couple doesn't? It's not a superpower of blocking out sound. You will never, ever succeed in blocking out sound, I assure you. The prisoners live on tiers where there's a nonstop cacophony of radios, TVs, raucous conversations, heated arguments. They don't have the luxury of picking out this sound or that sound and trying to wish it away. They've been forced to learn that it doesn't matter. All you have to do about the sound is not engage with it. Okay? And we can extend that to all you have to know about fill in the blank is don't engage with it. It's just there. Forget about it. Forget about it. Yes?
That kind of, my question.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, my question also has something to do with the noise, not the noise, but the sound factor. Because I'm still in a fog about meditation and what I'm supposed to get out of it. You know, if there's, like, first of all, are you supposed to come up with some kind of an answer or help you to get somewhere with that problem? Okay, that's good. All right,
Yeah.
because it's not happening for me.
Yes.
But I still like the idea of meditation. And what I have found that I have a CD that's that has meditation music,
Mm.
and I really, really enjoy that.
Mhm.
But is it okay? Because I start listening to that music, and and there are all these wonderful little just instrumental stuff,
Mhm.
and my body will not stay still. I all of a sudden
You're
I
bopping.
am moving,
You're bopping to the music.
moving more like a round kind of thing, and I'm so I said I can't do this in public, so but it's a wonderful sensation. I really feel good about it. But am I being tricked? Is that still meditation?
It's training wheels. It's training wheels. Go with the music or without the music, both. Both. If and look, we just meditated using sound. Right? What's music? Sound. However, note the way that we used it. We used it as an on-ramp. Then we let it fade away in its own time. And, in the instruction, I suggested to people, you may find that it fades away into silence. Maybe quickly, maybe slowly, maybe not. If if not, then fine. You're just there with that, not but just and when it fades away, it fades away. That's what an on-ramp is for. It's for getting you into the express lane, into the diamond, what is it called? The fast track lane, okay, of just being. What are we supposed to come up with? An answer? No, an answer, if you're like opening up a fortune cookie, the meaning of life is not going to be found in a fortune cookie. Right? No. What we come to is just being.
But the music is really nice, though.
Yeah, a lot of things are really nice. I mean, I'm a musician in my spare time. I actually I brought my ukuleles in the car because Yafa, my wife was driving. I was playing. Division of labor. We all do what we're good at. But by the way, I would like to introduce the person without whom this book would not exist. I would not have found my socks, and I wouldn't have made it here today. This is Yafa. You've been asked to stand up so people can see you. There she is. Thank you. Yeah, so I love music, and there is, and actually I go in the chapter on meditating on sound. I talk about using music, and then stopping using it. But what I would say is it has a role. It can have a role. Some people don't particularly find themselves drawn to that. Some people do very much. But I really recommend do some practice without it. Do some meditating where you're just being and not having music playing. And you may find yourself feeling antsy, especially if you're used to, okay, bopping, and now, oh, no music, I'm feeling antsy. And you know that feeling of antsiness, you know what that's called? A feeling, thank you. Again, that's going to be a sensation. And instead of don't sign on to it. Don't say, okay, I'm feeling antsy, so I better switch the music back on again. I did not sit down to meditate in order to feel antsy. You did sit down to meditate in order to find what is on the other side of antsiness, which is clarity, self-sufficiency, liberation, not depending on anything. I mentioned here the prisoners that I've worked with, who, by the way, I just saw my prison guys the other night while I was, anytime I go back east, I make sure I'm in Newark on a Thursday night. When my group, when I lived in New Jersey, I led that group from 2005 to 2010, and now they continue to go, and I was with them every Thursday night, and it's the most fantastic. If you want to really do something fulfilling, go volunteer in prison. Teach literacy, anything. Warning, you won't want to do anything else. It's just the best. So these guys continue to meet, and now I'm not there anymore, so my old students teach my new students. And then whenever I'm in town, I'm with them. And this time I was able to give them each a copy of the book. And oh, yeah, I mean, their heads were like exploding with joy. And one guy told me, I'm going to be out in 2 weeks, and I'm nervous because I don't do well in the outside world. I said, there's a lot of good tools in here, so try to finish reading this before you get out. He said, oh, I'm going to finish reading this before I go to sleep tonight. I was just, oh, yeah. So what I found, what's happened a few times with my prison guys is one guy will disappear for a few weeks or months. I don't see him. He doesn't come to the meetings anymore. And it's because he's been put into segregation, solitary confinement. No books, no radio, no TV, no nothing. Okay? It's horrible. It's designed to drive people insane. It's brutal. I mean, don't get me started. I thought there was an Eighth Amendment against cruel and unusual punishment. But the fabulous thing is when my guys come back from segregation and say, maybe, well, it was tough at the beginning, but then I remembered, oh, I know how to meditate. I didn't have music. I didn't have any crutches. I didn't have any training wheels. everything was taken away from me. But that one thing, the knowledge of how to just settle within myself and just be, could not be taken away from me. And you know what? You never know. You're probably not going to wind up in solitary in Northern State Prison, but you never know. Life can always change on a dime, and it's really good to know. We none of us know when we're going to wind up, in the nursing home or in the whatever. And I've spent some time in recent years, a lot of time with elderly relatives in the nursing home. See a lot of people who can't do a lot of the things that used to bring them joy. People say, "Oh, I do my meditation out on the golf course." Yeah, great. And I know people who play golf and go into the zone and have a lot of good samadhi on the golf course. It's true. But what happens when you can't play golf anymore? What happens when you can't XYZ anymore? So that's, yeah. Someone else was, yeah, I want to do yeah, okay, yes, go ahead.
My voice is a little raspy. I
Okay.
apologize, but I really appreciated this. It was great today.
Mhm.
And also so much science that backs meditation from practices from thousands of years ago.
Yes.
And that's only been happening with Daniel Siegel, who's a psychiatrist,
Yeah.
researcher from UCLA, you probably know. And
Yeah, you know
John-
what, hold the mic a little closer.
Okay, and John Kabat-Zinn
Yep.
and Jack Kornfield and all
Mhm.
of them. And the fact that they know now through doing blood work and doing SPECT scan studies and that, that you can actually change your neurotransmitters as well. And what I find distressing here and in the US in general is big pharma, which you go in to see the doctor and they want to give you an antidepressant. Where in fact, and it's been proven that with regular and diligent and dedicated meditation for even 15 or 20 minutes a day, you can become emotionally regulated. And I've seen that myself in my own work. I just know that it happens, but it's not something that's promoted really in everyday society. So this is great. And people, there's a lot of different reasons why people have anxiety and depression too, and it's not all psychological. A lot of it requires people to have medical checks, vitamin panels, thyroid checks, and that sort of thing too. But I appreciate this so much because it backs and validates all the science that I know about the way meditation, helps to make us emotionally regulated and more peaceful.
Yeah,
Do you have something
yeah.
to say?
No, thank you. That's a great point. Couple of things. One is that right, there's still, the standard procedure is hand out the antidepressant and so forth, but things are changing. When I was out in New Jersey, I was staying with a friend who's a social worker and works with all these people in clinical situations, and she herself is a long-time meditator, and she was showing me actually her textbook there with about dealing with borderline personality. And she said, look, if you read this with our background, everything they're saying about dealing with borderline personality is mindfulness. It's coming. Look, anyone here ever see In Style magazine? Okay, May issue, just out now. There's a big spread on meditation, and about half of it is quoting me. And they got a picture of the cover of my book there, which to me makes that a good article. I'm sorry?
We're going to take a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a break in 1 minute. I used to, I'd write one of these books and I would be happy. I feel I would get covered in Yoga Journal or something. Now I'm in this book. I'm in Style magazine. I've been in Prevention twice. I'm going to be in Family Circle. I mean, can you get more mainstream than that? Okay, so it's really changing. And then the other thing quickly is, this whole business of, is it psychological or is it physiological? Is it neurochemical? It's both, and each affects the other. We can, meditation, we become psychologically, emotionally more open, more stable, more balanced, more self-regulated. And when we investigate, like Daniel Siegel and others have been finding, there is a physiological description of what's going on. There was just a piece in the New York Times about 2 days ago, some of you may have seen, about a study done with dogs and their masters. And what they found was that when the master and the dog gaze into each other's eyes, it stimulates the production of oxytocin in the human and in the dog. Yeah, and that the dogs, the theory is that in the course of evolution, dogs found that human adults had this circuit available for bonding with their babies, and the dogs like hijacked that circuit. But the thing is, when people say, oh, the love I get from my dog, that gaze, and people say, oh, that's a nice psychological feeling, and well, yes, it is, but also it's a physiological reality, and the same is true of meditation. Let's take a break, stretch, go to the bathroom, and one thing to do.
I know. Okay, now I'm on. Great. You having a good time? Great. You like this stuff? Good. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to, as you know, we've done an experiment. This is the second time we're trying the experiment of not setting fees for this and doing love offerings. So at this time, before we go into break, and there's water and some refreshments in the back and the break. But before that, I've asked the ushers if they would please come